So I have a lot of thoughts in my mind right now. And I guess it's that the life that I live now at 21 is drastically different from the life that I was living just 3 years ago when I was still in high school, and even before then. Um, the amount of experiences that I've had, and the things that I continue to experience now and want to do in the future, um, it's just a complete 360 from the lifestyle I was living at home in Los Angeles, of all places. Um, I mean, when I tell people that I'm from LA, they get really excited and they ask me like, "Oh wow, what's the city like?" And it's just one of those like big city names that everyone thinks is just so cool, and they want to know like, "Oh wow, how did you live?" and all that kind of thing, like New York City or the Bronx or something. Um, but whenever I try to answer that question, I kind of just draw a blank and I end up saying the things that are stereotypically known about the culture through, Hollywood and the media. And the reason why is because my parents, they're very anxiety ridden and antisocial people. Um, and I mean, not like they're terrible people or something, but they just don't feel comfortable around others. They are very fearful about a lot of things in our society. So growing up, I didn't really go anywhere. And looking back on my childhood and the life that I live now, like I'm very different from my parents. Like I'm very adventurous. I like to meet new people. I like to explore places. But having grown up in an environment where my parents would prefer stay at home or just, only go out to run errands or maybe go to the movies sometimes, I have adapted this behavior and this personality of locking myself away at home, being uncomfortable in social situations, because when I was a child, before I had that learned behavior of my parents being antisocial, I was a social butterfly. I liked to crack jokes. I always hung out with people. I talked to my friends on the phone for hours, back in the 90s when there was no texting and like all that kind of stuff. I would, ask to play games on the playground. I was just energetic, adventurous, free-spirited, fun person. But over time, after that repetition of, on weekends not going anywhere, staying at home, hearing my parents freak out about the news, and my mom's always talking about, death and life is horrible, and, she has depression and stuff like that. Like, their mental state eventually settled into me. And, worse is the fact that mental illness runs in my family and it's hereditary. By the time puberty hit, I was just like them. Like, I didn't want to do anything. I didn't have any motivation to meet new people. I didn't want to go anywhere. I was very fearful, anxious, and I'm still struggling with that today. But yeah, it's just like after high school, I wasn't ready to go to college. I was forced to go anyway. I went all the way across the country to a random school in Vermont. On my breaks, I would go travel different cities in the East Coast, Boston. I went to New York City quite a few times. I lived in Albany, New York, doing an internship for a whole year. And I mean, that's an adventurous thing to do, to just go to a totally different city where you don't know anybody and like live there for a year. So I did that. I traveled to, I think, Maryland it was, for the protest against Chelsea Manning being held. I think it was the first day of her trial or something like that. So I've been all over the place, and now I'm here in Chicago. I'm a dog walker, so I'm like, I have to ride my bike different places to get to my clients, and I'm exploring all these parts of the city. Ever since leaving high school, also, I've gone to a lot of music shows, and I want to still go to a lot of concerts, gatherings. Just yesterday I went to a clothing swap and I didn't really know anybody. I got invited by one person. And of course I was nervous and different things like that, but I just really love like meeting new people and seeing the way that people live. And I don't know, the fact that like my authentic self is starting to emerge again, I don't know, and reconciling that with the way that I used to live because of my parents and living under them, it's really just tripping me out. Like, it's tripping me out that I had this very secluded lifestyle in one of the biggest cities on the planet. Los Angeles has like over 3 million people that live there. It's a huge city, even more spread out and large than Chicago. And there's like so many things to do. And the only way that I ever got out as a child was through school. I would go to Knott's Berry Farm or Six Flags because of school. Like, I would go to the beach because of school. I never went with my parents. I never went camping. I never did anything. So, I don't know. I feel like I got really held back by that. But wow, I don't know. I feel kind of bad because it's like, I'm still young and there's time to like catch up and have experiences and all that kind of stuff. But I just feel like I'm set back so much that it's gonna take a really long time for me to get to that place where, I'm back to my old self. So yeah, that's something that's been weighing on my mind a lot lately, and I can get more into that in other videos, but man, I had such a sheltered childhood, and I'm glad that that's done.